I had been married into the Duke of Worthington's estate for 4 years, when my world shifted beneath my feet like sand in an hourglass. That particular afternoon, I sat by the latticed window of my chambers, guiding my 5-year-old son Oliver through the gentle art of penmanship. His small fingers gripped the brush with determination as he traced the flowing curves of letters across rice paper. The sunlight streamed through the carved wooden panels, casting dancing shadows across our peaceful lesson. Then Adrian burst through my doors like a tempest, his grip firm around the delicate wrist of a woman I had never seen before. She wore a gown of coarse linen, so worn it had faded to the color of morning mist. Her hair was secured with nothing more than a simple wooden pin. Yet, her face possessed an ethereal beauty that spoke of gentle breeding despite her humble attire. Her eyes, rimmed with red, glistened with unshed tears as though she had endured some terrible injustice. Adrian's voice carried a tightness I recognized, the sound of a man who had already made his decision and would brook no opposition. "Clara," he began, his tone mixing authority with what he likely believed was gentle consideration. "This is Miss Lily Thornfield. She will be joining our household." He paused, and I caught that particular inflection he used when he believed he was being magnanimous. "You have always been a woman of understanding. I trust you will make room for her." I kept my gaze fixed on Oliver's careful strokes, watching as he formed each letter with the concentration only children possess. My voice, when I spoke, carried the same measured tone I might use to discuss the weather. "Miss Thornfield," you said. The moment I spoke, Lily shrank behind Adrian like a woodland creature seeking shelter from a hawk. Adrian immediately drew her closer, his protective gesture as obvious as thunder before lightning. "Clara," his voice sharpened with warning, "Miss Thornfield has endured considerable hardship. I expect you to treat her with appropriate kindness." Finally, I lifted my eyes, allowing my gaze to sweep past Adrian's tense features and settle upon Lily's luminous eyes. Eyes that held depths I suspected ran far deeper than her trembling demeanor suggested. "She may join the household as a concubine," I said with the same casual tone one might use to order tea. "The eastern wing has suitable quarters. Her monthly allowance will be set at the secondary rate." I tilted my head slightly. "Will that suffice?" Lily recoiled as though I had struck her, tears spilling over like pearls from a broken necklace. Her voice caught in her throat as she spoke. "My lady, though I come from humble circumstances, I cannot accept such a position. Master Adrian and I have made sacred promises to each other, to be devoted partners for all eternity. I beg you to grant us this happiness. Grant you happiness." The words escaped me with a sound that might have been laughter, though it held no warmth. I set aside my silk handkerchief and rose slowly, my movements deliberate and graceful. Oliver startled at the sudden tension in the room, his brush slipping to stain the paper with spreading ink. I bent to retrieve the brush, my hand gentle on his dark hair, silently reassuring him. Then, I turned to face Lily, my expression as cold as winter morning frost. "Miss Thornfield, are you asking me to step aside for your convenience, or would you prefer I hand you the divorce papers myself, clearing the path for your ambitions?" Adrian's face darkened like storm clouds gathering on the horizon. "Clara, how dare you speak such words?" He drew Lily further behind him, as though I might devour her where she stood. "Lily isn't some fortune-seeking opportunist. Her feelings for me are genuine and pure." "I never suggested she was after fortune," I replied, taking 2 measured steps forward, though Adrian stood taller than I. In that moment, he seemed to shrink before my presence. "I am simply reminding you, Adrian Worthington, of exactly whom you married." Each word fell from my lips with crystalline clarity. "I am Clara, eldest daughter of the Chancellor of Education, Thomas Ashworth. My maternal grandfather is the Grand Marshal of the Royal Guard. Last year, My brother distinguished himself in the border campaigns and was elevated to the rank of cavalry general. Adrian's complexion grew ashen, the color draining from his cheeks like water from cracked stone. I continued without pause. When the Duke of Worthington sought my hand in marriage, your mother waited outside our family's gates for 5 full days with an 8-carriage dowry procession, pleading for my father's consent. I brushed an imaginary speck of dust from my sleeve, the gesture deliberate and dismissive. Did you believe I married into your family to play the role of devoted wife and doting mother? Adrian's mouth opened as though to speak, but I pressed on before he could find words. My father explained the arrangement quite clearly. The Ashworth family, though distinguished in scholarly pursuits, requires alliance with the nobility to maintain our position at court. The child I bear will inherit the ducal title. That is what the Ashworth family requires. My gaze locked with his, steady and implacable. You wish for a divorce. Very well. But consider carefully whether you can maintain your position as heir without the Ashworth family's support at court. Ask yourself if your uncles might seize this opportunity to claim your inheritance. Adrian's grip on Lily's hand loosened so suddenly she stumbled, nearly falling. She stared at him with disbelief, tears still clinging to her lashes like morning dew. Master Adrian, she whispered. But Adrian had already moved toward me, his face attempting what he likely believed was a charming smile, his voice taking on the wheedling tone of a child caught in mischief. I spoke rashly. You mustn't take such words seriously. He reached for my arm, but I stepped smoothly aside, avoiding his touch. Spoke rashly. I raised an eyebrow, my gaze sliding past him to where Lily stood, pale as parchment. Adrian. My chambers are not a menagerie where any stray creature may take shelter. Today's incident never occurred, as far as I am concerned. But let this be the final time. I lifted Oliver into my arms, his small body warm against mine as I turned toward the inner rooms. As for Miss Thornfield, I called over my shoulder, my footsteps never faltering. Steward Morrison, please escort the young lady from the premises. Provide her with 50 pieces of silver as a token of the young master's appreciation. Adrian opened his mouth, but seemed to think better of whatever protest had formed. Lily remained frozen in place, watching my retreating figure. For just an instant, I caught a flash of pure hatred in her eyes before it was quickly masked by renewed tears. She bit her lower lip, her voice trembling with practiced sorrow. Master Adrian. Adrian turned on her with sudden fury, his voice a harsh whisper. Will you not leave already? Lily flinched as though he had slapped her, tears flowing more freely. But she followed Steward Morrison from my chambers without another word. In the sanctuary of my private rooms, I settled Oliver on the silk-covered daybed. My son's large, dark eyes searched my face with the intuition children possess. Mother, he said, tugging gently at my sleeve, does father no longer care for us? I smoothed his hair, the coldness in my expression melting away like ice in spring sunshine. No, my darling. Your father simply made an error in judgment. All will be well soon. But in my heart, I knew this was merely the beginning. A woman with eyes like Lily's would never accept such a dismissal quietly, and Adrian would never truly abandon whatever spell she had woven around him, regardless of today's reminder of political reality. 3 days later, my suspicions proved prophetic. Whispers began circulating through the household like smoke from a hidden fire. They spoke of my jealous nature, of how I had cruelly separated 2 lovers. Some dared suggest that Lily and Adrian shared true affection, while I wielded my family's influence, like a weapon, against innocent hearts. The most audacious even claimed I had overstepped my bounds, oppressing Adrian himself. These rumors reached my ears as swiftly as wildfire, carried by the very air that flowed through our halls. I sat in the garden with Oliver, helping him guide a silk kite through the afternoon sky. The bright fabric danced against the clouds as my maid Emma approached with her report, her voice carefully lowered. I see, I said simply, my tone betraying nothing as I adjusted the kite string, sending our creation soaring higher. Emma's frustration was palpable. My lady, this Miss Thornfield grows ever bolder. She seeks to claim your position, yet somehow you have become the villain in everyone's eyes. From the corner of my vision, I noticed several servants huddled in conversation, their glances darting toward me with expressions ranging from pity to disdain. Let them talk, I said calmly. Their tongues belong to them. I can hardly seal every mouth in the household. Before Emma could respond further, Steward Morrison approached with evident urgency. My lady, the Dowager Duchess requests your immediate presence in the autumn pavilion. I smiled inwardly. The moment had arrived as inevitable as dawn following night. The Dowager had always favored Adrian above all else, and she guarded the family's reputation like a dragon protecting its hoard. With such rumors spreading beyond our walls, she would certainly demand an accounting. I handed the kite string to Emma and touched Oliver's cheek tenderly. Stay here with Emma, my dear. Mother will return shortly. Oliver nodded solemnly. Hurry back, Mother. I'll save some honey cakes for us to share. I promised him I would, then followed Morrison toward what I knew would be a carefully orchestrated confrontation. The autumn pavilion's carved doors stood open, revealing the Dowager seated in her ornate chair like a magistrate preparing to render judgment. Her expression could have frozen summer wine. Adrian stood to one side, his gaze fixed upon the polished floor with the air of a chastened child. But it was the third figure that confirmed my suspicions. Lily knelt before the Dowager, no longer dressed in faded linen, but wearing a gown of pale rose silk with silver ornaments adorning her carefully arranged hair. Despite her improved appearance, her face bore an expression of even greater distress than before. Upon seeing me enter, Lily trembled visibly, shrinking toward the Dowager as though seeking sanctuary from some terrible threat. The Dowager's palm struck the table with the sharp crack of breaking wood. Clara, do you comprehend the gravity of your actions? I offered a respectful curtsy, my voice maintaining perfect composure. Mother, I confess I do not understand. Do not understand. The Dowager's finger extended toward Lily like an accusatory blade. Look at this dear child, such a gentle soul driven to desperation by your cruelty. Had Adrian not shown mercy by bringing her back, she might have. The Dowager's words trailed into silence, but Lily immediately filled the void with her tears. Honored Dowager, please do not blame Lady Clara. The fault lies entirely with me. I should never have allowed myself to care for Master Adrian, should never have caused such misunderstanding. I will depart immediately and trouble this noble household no more. She struggled to rise as though preparing to flee into the night. Adrian instantly moved to restrain her, his voice desperate with emotion. Lily, you cannot leave. This situation isn't your doing. I am the one who has failed you. The Dowager's fury reached new heights as she turned on me. Clara, observe what your jealousy has wrought. See how you have tormented Adrian. See how you have persecuted this innocent girl. We brought you into this family to serve as Adrian's wife, not to become a vessel of spite that brings shame upon our name. I met the Dowager's blazing gaze with perfect calm. Mother, when have I brought shame upon our family name? When Adrian sought to bring Miss Thornfield into our household as a concubine, I agreed to the arrangement. It was Miss Thornfield herself who refused such a position, demanding exclusive devotion. I merely had Steward Morrison escort her from the premises accordingly. I paused, allowing my gaze to sweep over Lily's carefully composed features. Yet here she stands once more. Has Miss Thornfield reconsidered her previous objections to such an arrangement, or were her earlier protests merely performative? Her tears flowing with renewed vigor. My lady, you misunderstand my intentions. I I simply cannot bear separation from Master Adrian, but neither do I wish to cause you distress." She turned toward the dowager with renewed supplication. "Honored dowager, please do not force Lady Clara to accommodate me. I shall depart and never again appear before Master Adrian. You dare not." Adrian's voice cracked like a whip as he spun to face me, his eyes burning with barely contained rage. "Clara, have you no mercy? Must you drive Lily to her destruction?" I regarded Adrian with something approaching amusement. "Drive her to destruction? Have I pursued her beyond our gates? Have I forbidden her return? The choice to remain or depart belongs to her, as does your determination to keep her here. Your motives are perfectly transparent." I turned to address the dowager directly. "Mother, I am the legitimate daughter of the Ashworth family, wed to your son through proper ceremony and due process. What is Miss Thornfield's position? She holds no title, no recognized status, yet repeatedly appears in our household, generating precisely the sort of gossip that truly damages our reputation. Who, exactly, brings shame upon the Duke of Worthington's name?" The dowager faltered, clearly caught off guard by my directness, but her expression remained thunderous. "Are you questioning my judgment?" "I would never presume such a thing," I replied with a slight inclination of my head, though my voice carried unmistakable steel. "I merely believe that household protocols must be maintained. If any person may enter our home at will and create disruption, what respect will others show toward the Duke of Worthington's authority in future?" Adrian immediately interjected. "Lily is not some stranger. She is my enough." The dowager's sharp command cut through his words. She drew a deep breath, fixing me with a steely stare. "I have reached a decision in this matter. Miss Thornfield has endured considerable hardship and shares genuine affection with Adrian. She will remain in the household, residing in the western courtyard as a personal attendant. When circumstances permit, her status may be elevated to that of concubine." I met the dowager's gaze with eyes like winter ice. "Mother, do you mean to abandon our family's established customs?" "What customs? What protocols?" The dowager dismissed my concerns with an impatient wave. "I am the Dowager Duchess of this house. My word establishes our customs. Clara, if you acknowledge me as your mother-in-law, cease this petty obsession with jealousy. Focus on your duties as Adrian's wife and Oliver's mother, rather than indulging in these constant conflicts." I looked from the dowager to Lily, whose expression now mixed triumph with continued theatrical distress, and finally to Adrian, whose face showed both satisfaction and a presumptuous sense of victory, as though he believed I had finally been properly subdued. In that moment, the last threads of obligation I felt toward the Duke of Worthington's family snapped like overstretched silk. "Very well," I said, my voice carrying an unsettling tranquility. "Since Mother has spoken so definitively, I shall naturally comply." Relief flickered across the dowager's features. That is the proper attitude. Harmony within the family serves everyone's interests. Adrian relaxed visibly, his eyes holding a subtle gleam of victory that seemed to declare, "You dare not defy Mother's authority." Lily cast a covert glance in my direction, calculation glittering in her gaze like light on a blade's edge. I offered no further acknowledgement to any of them, merely curtsying once more. "If Mother requires nothing further, I shall return to Oliver. He awaits my company." The dowager waved dismissal. "Go then." I turned toward the doorway, but as I reached the threshold, Lily's voice drifted after me like poisoned honey. "Lady Clara, I do hope you will look kindly upon me in days to come." I neither paused nor looked back. Though my lips curved in the faintest suggestion of a smile, look kindly upon her. Indeed, I would watch her very carefully indeed. When I returned to the garden, Oliver sat on a stone bench, nibbling delicately at a sweet osmanthus cake. Seeing my approach, He immediately set aside his treat and ran to embrace my legs. "Mother, you've returned." His small arms encircled me with fierce affection. I lifted him up, the coldness in my expression melting instantly. "Yes, I've come back to my dear Oliver." He nestled against my cheek, then whispered conspiratorially, "Did grandmother speak harshly to mother?" My heart warmed at his perceptiveness. Though young, this child understood far more than adults often credited. "No, darling. Grandmother merely discussed household matters with me." As we walked back toward our quarters, I spoke quietly but firmly. "Oliver, trust that mother will never allow anyone to harm us." Once we reached my chambers, I immediately summoned Emma, my most trusted maid. "Investigate Miss Thornfield's activities over the past 3 days. Discover whom she has contacted and whether she was responsible for spreading those rumors throughout the household." Emma nodded briskly. "I shall begin immediately, my lady." Emma possessed both efficiency and discretion. By evening, she had returned with her findings. "My lady, I have uncovered the truth." Emma's voice trembled with indignation. "This Lily Thornfield is not the daughter of any Southern scholar. She is the child of an impoverished teacher from a neighboring county. After her father's death, her mother remarried a butcher. When her mother died as well, the stepfather sold her to a pleasure house. She would still be confined to such an establishment if Master Adrian had not visited last month, taken a fancy to her, and purchased her freedom. She has been spinning elaborate tales about her background ever since." I paused in sipping my tea, ice crystallizing in my gaze, as I had suspected, a practiced deceiver. "Furthermore," Emma continued, "she was indeed responsible for spreading those rumors. After leaving our estate, she did not depart the area but instead visited tea houses near our gates, where she encountered several of our servants who had been sent on errands. She deliberately portrayed herself as a tragic lover separated from Master Adrian by your jealous interference, painting herself as the victim of your family's political influence. Those servants, being natural gossips, returned to spread her tales throughout the household, which is how the stories reached everyone's ears. She also deliberately positioned herself along the route the dowager takes to temple worship, arranging a seemingly chance encounter. There she wept about missing Master Adrian, while claiming she dared not return to our home, manipulating the dowager's sympathies until she convinced her to permit Master Adrian to bring her back. I set down my teacup, a cold smile playing across my lips. What a calculating performance from this green tea temptress. Not only did she weave lies as naturally as breathing, but she understood precisely how to exploit both the dowager's protective instincts and Adrian's romantic delusions. "Understood," I said simply. "Speak of this to no one for now." Leaving me to contemplate the afternoon shadows stretching across my chambers, Lily Thornfield, Adrian, the dowager, each of them believed they could manipulate and deceive me with impunity. Very well, I would be delighted to engage in their games. But they had gravely miscalculated if they believed Clara Ashworth could be bullied or discarded at their convenience. The following morning brought an unexpected spectacle. I had barely completed my morning preparations when Emma rushed in, her face flushed with agitation. "My lady, something terrible has happened. Miss Thornfield is kneeling outside your chambers, claiming she wishes to apologize." I raised an eyebrow. "Apologize?" "Yes," Emma nodded, her voice tight with anger. "She is wearing pure white robes, kneeling on the stone pavement while weeping that she never meant to upset you. She declares that if you refuse to forgive her, she will remain kneeling indefinitely. Now half the servants are gathered around whispering that you are too hard-hearted to accept even sincere contrition." I laughed softly, the sound holding no warmth whatsoever. So Lily had decided to attempt a different strategy. Having failed with direct confrontation, she now sought to use public sympathy to force my hand. I rose and smoothed my robes. Come then, let us witness this performance. At my chamber's entrance, I found exactly the scene Emma had described. Lily knelt upon the stones wearing robes white as fresh snow, her hair disheveled, tears streaking her cheeks in carefully calculated rivulets of apparent anguish. A ring of servants surrounded her, their whispered commentary providing exactly the reaction she sought. The poor girl looked so pitiful. Indeed, how can Lady Clara remain inside when someone is showing such remorse? If Lady Clara doesn't appear soon, Miss Thornfield might collapse from exhaustion. Perhaps Our Lady is too severe in her judgments. Upon seeing me emerge, Lily lifted her tear-stained face, her voice breaking with perfectly modulated desperation. My lady, I know I have transgressed terribly. Please, I beg your forgiveness for this once. I swear to conduct myself properly henceforth, never again causing you displeasure. I ask only to remain near Master Adrian, even if merely as a servant who tends his tea. I stood upon my threshold, gazing down at her with complete composure. Miss Thornfield, what precisely is the meaning of this display? Lily crawled forward several paces on her knees, though Emma swiftly blocked her approach. Her tears fell like scattered pearls as she pleaded. My lady, I truly understand my errors now. Please do not banish me. I implore you. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, their disapproving glances in my direction increasingly obvious. I ignored their judgment entirely, focusing solely on Lily. When did I announce any intention to banish you? Lily appeared genuinely startled, clearly unprepared for such a response. My lady, the Dowager has already decreed that you shall remain in our household as a personal attendant, residing in the western courtyard, I stated with unchanged calm, though my voice carried absolute authority. I would never contradict her ladyship's wishes. A flash of triumph glittered in Lily's eyes, though she quickly masked it with renewed distress. But I fear you harbor resentment toward me in your heart. I worry that... Worry about what? I interrupted, my gaze sharpening like a blade, that I might mistreat you. Lily lowered her head, unable to meet my stare, whispering, I would not dare suggest such a thing. Good, I replied coolly, my attention sweeping over the gathered servants. All of you disperse. Return to your duties. What purpose does this gathering serve? The servants, cowed by my commanding presence, quickly scattered to their respective tasks. Lily remained kneeling, not daring to rise without permission. I regarded her with increasing coldness. Miss Thornfield, since the Dowager has granted you residence here, conduct yourself appropriately within the western courtyard. Maintain proper behavior, disturb no one's peace, and do not require me to remind you of these expectations again. With that, I turned and walked back into my chambers. Behind me, I caught Lily watching my retreating figure, her expression of pitiful pleading instantly replaced by venomous hatred. But she recovered quickly, slowly rising with assistance from a nearby maid and limping toward the western courtyard while murmuring loud enough for others to hear. Thank you for your mercy. My lady, I shall certainly conduct myself properly. Back in my private rooms, Emma could barely contain her frustration. My lady, you are simply allowing her to escape consequences. That entire performance was designed to embarrass you publicly. I lifted my teacup and sipped thoughtfully. What alternative would you suggest? The Dowager protects her, Adrian dotes upon her. Any harsh action on my part would only reinforce accusations of jealousy. But we cannot permit such insolence. Peace, I said, my lips curving in a smile cold as winter moonlight. She wishes to remain in our household. I shall certainly accommodate her thoroughly. Over the following days, Lily indeed maintained a lower profile. She confined herself primarily to the western courtyard, occasionally visiting the Dowager in the autumn pavilion to pay respects and provide companionship. Her charming conversation delighted the elderly woman immensely. Meanwhile, Adrian made daily pilgrimages to the western courtyard, sometimes remaining overnight. The household, observing Lily's favor with both the dowager and the young master, gradually shifted their attitudes. Many began seeking her goodwill, while their deference toward me noticeably cooled. Even the maid responsible for delivering my afternoon refreshments began arriving late with treats that were no longer fresh. Emma seethed with indignation and wished to confront the negligent servant, but I restrained her. "Unnecessary," I said calmly. "She is merely a maid. Such petty behavior deserves no attention. But she is showing you deliberate disrespect." Emma protested. "Disrespect?" I smiled. "She lacks the standing to truly disrespect me." I gazed out the window, my voice maintaining its tranquil tone while carrying an underlying chill. "Lily hopes to win hearts and turn the household against me. I shall not indulge her ambitions." That very afternoon, I summoned every servant in the household to the main courtyard. I sat in the place of honor while several wooden boxes rested on the table before me. "You have all served this household with dedication during recent weeks," I began, my voice warm yet carrying unmistakable authority. "These boxes contain silver coins and fine fabrics. Personal gifts from me to each of you. Every person shall receive their share distributed through Steward Morrison." The servants stared in amazement, then broke into grateful smiles and expressions of joy. "Thank you, my lady. Your ladyship is truly generous." I smiled graciously and continued. "Service in this household requires effort from everyone. Those who perform their duties faithfully and maintain proper conduct will always find me a fair mistress." My tone suddenly cooled, my gaze sweeping over them with penetrating intensity. "However, let all understand, anyone who spreads malicious gossip or shows disrespect to their superiors, regardless of their connections, will face consequences I shall not hesitate to impose." The servants, cowed by my authoritative presence, quickly lowered their heads in submission. "Excellent," I said, my voice warming again. "Steward Morrison, please distribute the gifts." Morrison began the distribution, while those who had previously curried favor with Lily looked upon me with newfound gratitude and respect. Their earlier negligence was forgotten in the face of my generosity. The maid who had delayed my refreshments knelt before me, trembling with fear. "My lady, I confess my wrongdoing. I swear never to repeat such behavior. Please show mercy this once." I regarded her calmly. "Rise. I shall overlook this instance, but let there be no repetition." She kowtowed repeatedly in gratitude before retreating to join the others, her former insolence completely extinguished. Following this demonstration, every household member understood that while I might appear gentle in daily interactions, I was far from powerless. Those who had sought to curry favor with Lily immediately moderated their behavior. When Lily learned of these developments, her fury led her to destroy numerous items in her quarters. However, she dared not confront me directly, resorting instead to subtle manipulation. She began poisoning Adrian's mind against me, claiming I mistreated servants and tormented her through various petty cruelties. Adrian, naturally, believed every word she spoke, leading to regular confrontations with me. "Clara, have you been tormenting Lily again? Clara, Lily says you've reduced her household allowance. Is this true? Clara, you are going too far. Lily is delicate, and if you continue persecuting her, I won't stand for it." Each time he approached me with such accusations, I met his fury with perfect composure. "Adrian, which of your eyes witnessed me tormenting her?" Household allowances are distributed by Steward Morrison according to established protocols. If she believes the amount insufficient, she may petition him directly. Furthermore, I remind you that she is your responsibility. I suggest you counsel her against spreading malicious rumors that disturb our household's tranquility. Adrian found himself unable to counter my logical responses, invariably stalking away in frustration to comfort Lily with renewed promises of devotion. I watched his retreating figure without the slightest emotional stirring. Such a man deserved neither my anger nor my love. My concerns now centered entirely on Oliver and the Ashworth family's political interests. Soon enough, Lily orchestrated her next performance. One afternoon, while I sat with Oliver practicing calligraphy, a maid burst into our chambers in obvious distress. "My lady, something terrible has occurred. Miss Thornfield has collapsed in the garden." I frowned slightly. "What happened?" "I don't know the details," the maid replied breathlessly. "She was admiring the flowers when she suddenly fell unconscious. Master Adrian has carried her back to the western courtyard and summoned the physician." I set aside my brush and touched Oliver's hair gently. "Continue your practice here, darling. Mother will return shortly." Oliver nodded obediently, though concern flickered in his young eyes. "Mother, will Miss Thornfield be all right?" I smiled reassuringly, though my voice remained neutral. "I am certain she will be fine." Inwardly, I wondered what new scheme Lily was attempting now. Outside the western courtyard, I could hear Adrian's panicked voice echoing from within. "Lily, how do you feel? Don't frighten me like this. Where is that physician? If anything happens to Lily, I'll hold you all responsible." Upon entering, I found Lily lying upon the bed, her complexion pale as fine porcelain, eyes closed as though she had indeed lost consciousness. Adrian sat beside her, clutching her hand while his face displayed genuine anxiety and fear. Seeing my arrival, Adrian immediately turned on me with blazing eyes. "Clara, what are you doing here? Have you done something to Lily again?" I ignored his accusation, approaching the bedside calmly. "I was instructing Oliver when I heard about Miss Thornfield's collapse. I came to assess the situation." I reached toward Lily's wrist to check her pulse. Adrian immediately slapped my hand away, snarling, "Don't touch her. If you are planning to harm her, I'll make you pay." I withdrew my hand, my voice cooling noticeably. "Adrian, cease this unreasonable behavior. I merely wish to evaluate Miss Thornfield's condition." Before he could respond, the physician arrived. Adrian rushed to meet him, his words tumbling out frantically. "Doctor, quickly examine Lily. She collapsed suddenly and hasn't regained consciousness." The physician hurried to the bedside and began his examination, checking Lily's pulse and other vital signs. After several minutes, he withdrew his hands with a puzzled frown. "Doctor," Adrian demanded urgently, "what is wrong with Lily? What caused her collapse?" The physician hesitated before responding. "Young master, Miss Thornfield's pulse suggests certain irregularities. It appears she may have experienced complications related to carrying a child." "What?" Adrian's expression transformed from anxiety to astonished joy. "Carrying a child? Do you mean Lily is pregnant?" The physician nodded. "Indeed. Miss Thornfield appears to be approximately 6 weeks with child. However, her constitution is delicate, and some form of shock seems to have caused her fainting episode. With proper care and rest, both mother and child should recover fully." Adrian's hands trembled with excitement as he gripped Lily's fingers, his voice tender enough to melt stone. "Lily, do you hear? You are carrying our child. We're going to be parents." Lily's eyelids fluttered open, her gaze initially unfocused before settling on Adrian. Tears immediately began flowing down her cheeks. "Master Adrian, am I truly with child?" Yes, it is true," Adrian nodded enthusiastically. "Lily, I promise to care for you and our baby. You'll never suffer another moment's distress." Lily wept with apparent happiness, though when her eyes met mine, I caught a flicker of triumph and challenge. I stood observing their touching scene with complete emotional detachment. Pregnant, was she? How remarkably convenient timing. Since Miss Thornfield is expecting, I said with studied neutrality. She will require proper care and nutrition. Steward Morrison can arrange for any necessary supplements. Adrian spun to face me with obvious hostility. I hardly need your false concern. I'll personally ensure she receives everything she needs. I made no further comment, simply turning toward the door. As I reached the threshold, I heard Lily whisper to Adrian, "Master Adrian, please don't be harsh with Lady Clara. She means well. It is just, I fear this child's timing may displease her." "Don't worry about such things," Adrian immediately reassured her. "I won't let anyone harm you or our baby. If Clara dares mistreat you, she'll answer to me." My lips curved in the coldest of smiles. Did Lily believe that pregnancy would elevate her status and enable her to replace me? How delightfully naive. Upon returning to my quarters, Emma immediately approached with evident concern. "My lady, is Miss Thornfield truly pregnant?" I nodded. "Indeed she is." Emma's distress was palpable. "But what shall we do? If she bears a son, she'll gain even more favor with the Dowager and Master Adrian. She'll become more arrogant than ever, and might even threaten young Master Oliver's inheritance." "Peace," I said calmly. "An unformed child poses no immediate threat." I paused, ice glittering in my gaze. "Besides, whether this child truly belongs to Adrian remains questionable." Emma's eyes widened. "My lady, do you mean we know Miss Thornfield's true background?" I continued with perfect composure. "She spent considerable time in a pleasure house, encountering countless men. Her sudden pregnancy could have any number of explanations." Emma's expression brightened. "Should we inform the Dowager and Master Adrian of her real history?" "Not yet," I shook my head. "Without concrete evidence, they would never believe us. Moreover, such accusations would put her on guard. We shall wait and observe. Her pregnancy will make her more desperate to secure her position quickly, leading to increasingly reckless behavior. We need only patience for her to reveal her true nature." Emma nodded approvingly. "You are wise, my lady. I shall follow your guidance." The following days confirmed my predictions. Lily's arrogance reached new heights. Emboldened by her pregnancy and the protection it afforded her, she monopolized the household's finest supplements and treated servants with increasing imperious demands, striking or berating them for the smallest perceived slights. She even presumed to criticize my own chambers, suggesting I replace my maids with more efficient ones. Adrian indulged her every whim, while the Dowager, thrilled by the prospect of a grandchild, granted her authority over various household matters. The servants endured her tyranny in frustrated silence, venting their grievances only in private one afternoon. As I enjoyed the sunshine in my garden, Lily arrived with several attendants. She wore an elaborate brocade gown, adorned with precious jewels. Her demeanor radiating smug satisfaction, a far cry from her previous pitiful performance. "Sister," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "I've come to visit you." I glanced up calmly. "What brings you here, Miss Thornfield?" "Nothing urgent," Lily replied with obvious pride. "The Dowager has entrusted me with managing certain household affairs. I thought I should review the arrangements for your quarters and ensure everything meets proper standards." She paused, her gaze surveying my attendants with critical appraisal. "Sister, these maids of yours seem rather slow. Their sluggish service hardly befits someone of your station or young Master Oliver's needs. Perhaps I should transfer some of my more capable girls to serve you better." I regarded her with growing amusement. "That won't be necessary. My current staff may lack exceptional speed, but they compensate through reliability and discretion. I am quite satisfied with them, so please don't trouble yourself on my account." Lily's smile stiffened momentarily before reasserting itself. "Sister, surely you don't doubt my good intentions. I only wish to help." "I appreciate Miss Thornfield's concern," I replied evenly. "However, I prefer familiar faces around me. Since you have no other business here, perhaps you should return to your rest." Expectant mothers require considerable care. Lily's expression darkened, her tone growing noticeably cooler. Sister, are you dismissing me? I merely suggest that someone in your delicate condition should prioritize rest over unnecessary social calls. I responded with quiet authority that brooked no argument, unable to formulate an adequate response. Lily's face cycled through various shades of displeasure before she turned abruptly to leave. At my doorway, she paused and looked back, her voice carrying unmistakable venom. Clara Ashworth, don't become too comfortable. Once I bear a son, we shall see how long you maintain your position in this household. Continuing to enjoy my peaceful afternoon, Emma seethed with indignation. My lady, Miss Thornfield's insolence knows no bounds. How dare she speak to you so disrespectfully? Don't let it disturb you, I replied serenely. The more audacious she becomes, the more likely she is to expose her true nature. We need only wait for the entertainment to unfold. True to my prediction, Lily soon provided exactly the spectacle I anticipated. Several nights later, as I prepared for sleep, chaos erupted from the western courtyard, running footsteps, shouting voices, cries of alarm. Emma rushed into my chambers, her face grave with urgency. My lady, disaster has struck. Miss Thornfield is bleeding. I frowned. Explain. I don't know the precise details, Emma said breathlessly, but a maid from the western courtyard reports that Miss Thornfield suddenly developed severe abdominal pain and began hemorrhaging. Master Adrian has summoned the physician, and the dowager has gone to her immediately. I rose and straightened my robes. Come, let us investigate. At the western courtyard's entrance, I could hear the dowager's distressed voice echoing from within. Lily, how do you feel? My precious grandchild must come to no harm. Where is that physician? If anything happens to my grandchild, someone will pay. Upon entering, I discovered Lily lying in bed, her complexion ghastly pale, the bedding beneath her stained crimson with blood. Adrian sat beside her, holding her hand while tears streamed down his face. Lily, stay strong. The physician will arrive soon. Our child must survive. When Lily noticed my entrance, she reacted as though I were both salvation and mortal threat, struggling to sit up while her voice cracked with hysteria. Lady Clara, it is you. You've done this. You envied my pregnancy and sought to destroy my baby. I halted, my expression instantly becoming glacial. Here, at last, was her true purpose. Adrian whirled to face me, his eyes bloodshot with rage and grief. Clara, did you do this? Did you attack Lily? The dowager also turned toward me, her face terrible with fury. Clara, you venomous creature, how could you harm an innocent unborn child? I shall teach you a lesson you'll never forget. The surrounding servants cowered in terror, their gazes darting between us while whispers of suspicion and fear filled the air. I felt no urgency to defend myself, instead studying Lily with cold calculation. Miss Thornfield, while food may be consumed carelessly, words must be chosen with greater precision. I spent the entire day in my chambers instructing Oliver in reading and writing. Half the household can verify my whereabouts. When, precisely, did I harm you? Lily's tears flowed more dramatically as she pointed an accusing finger at Emma. It was you. You sent your maid to bring me bird's nest soup. Shortly after drinking it, I developed terrible pains and began bleeding. If not you, then who else would want to hurt me? Emma's face went white with shock as she immediately knelt. My lady, I never did such a thing. I never sent Miss Thornfield any soup. She is lying about me and about you. You still dare deny it. Lily shrieked, somehow producing an empty bowl from beneath her bedding. This is the very bowl your maid used. It still bears her fingerprints. Do you think you can escape justice? Adrian snatched the bowl, examining it carefully before turning to Emma with deadly intensity. Emma, is this your bowl? Tell me the truth." Emma raised her head, studying the vessel, and her complexion turned ashen. This is indeed one of my usual bowls. But I truly never sent Miss Thornfield any soup. This bowl disappeared yesterday. I searched everywhere for it. I never imagined it would surface here." "You are still lying," Lily wailed. "Master Adrian, you must believe me. Clara was jealous of my pregnancy and ordered her maid to poison soup in this bowl, intending to kill both me and our child. You must seek justice for us." Adrian's gaze toward me grew increasingly murderous as he advanced step by step, reaching for my arm. "Clara, you poisonous woman, I completely misjudged your character. How could you be so heartless?" I smoothly evaded his grasp, my voice cold as winter frost. "Adrian, can you not maintain some composure? Based solely on one bowl and Miss Thornfield's unsubstantiated accusations. You conclude that I attempted to harm her. Where is your evidence? Where is your sense of justice? Evidence. This bowl is evidence. Lily's testimony is evidence," Adrian roared. "Besides you, who else would envy Lily's pregnancy? Who else would want to destroy her and our child?" The dowager joined his tirade. "Adrian speaks truth. You are certainly the culprit. Today I'll have you bound and taken to the ancestral hall for proper interrogation until you confess." Just then, footsteps approached from outside. The physician had finally arrived. The dowager and Adrian immediately surrounded him, demanding he treat Lily urgently. The physician wasted no time, rushing to examine Lily's pulse and assess the bleeding. His expression grew increasingly grave as minutes passed. Finally, he withdrew his hands and faced the dowager and Adrian with obvious reluctance. "Doctor," Adrian demanded desperately, "how is Lily? Can we save the baby? Did someone poison her?" The physician hesitated before responding slowly. "Young master, honored dowager, Miss Thornfield has indeed experienced severe complications with her pregnancy. The situation is critical, and I fear the child cannot be saved." "What?" Adrian staggered backward, as though struck by lightning, staring at Lily in disbelief. "Cannot be saved? How is that possible, doctor? Surely there must be something you can do, please. Save my child." Upon hearing this verdict, Lily's eyes rolled back and she fainted completely. Adrian immediately threw himself beside her bed, embracing her while sobbing inconsolably. "Lily, wake up. We've lost our baby, you cannot leave me too." The dowager's eyes also brimmed with tears as she pointed at me with renewed fury. "This is all you're doing, you murderous demon. Today I shall ensure you face justice for this crime." She summoned several household guards. "Seize this poisonous woman. Take her to the ancestral hall." The guards hesitated, glancing between me and the dowager, clearly reluctant to manhandle the legitimate wife of their master. Emma immediately stepped between us and them, shouting at the dowager and Adrian, "You cannot arrest my lady. She has been falsely accused. Miss Thornfield's miscarriage has nothing to do with Lady Clara." I gently moved Emma aside, facing the dowager with unwavering resolve. "I dare any of you to lay hands upon me." Though my voice remained level, it carried absolute authority that froze the guards in their tracks. I addressed the dowager directly, my tone sharp. "Mother, I am the eldest daughter of the Ashworth family and the legitimately wed wife of your son. Without concrete evidence, you propose to have me dragged to the ancestral hall for interrogation. Such action would be an insult to both the Ashworth family and the Duke of Worthington's honor. You still dare mention the Ashworth name?" The dowager raged. "When they learn of your evil deeds, they'll be filled with shame." "What evil deeds have I committed?" I laughed coldly, my gaze encompassing everyone present. "Miss Thornfield claims I ordered Emma to deliver poisoned soup, yet Emma denies this and notes the bowl had been missing. Miss Thornfield insists I harmed her, but what evidence proves the soup contained poison? What evidence links me to its delivery? I paused, turning to the physician. Doctor, you stated that Miss Thornfield suffered pregnancy complications leading to miscarriage. Have you determined whether she consumed anything harmful or encountered substances that might cause such complications? The physician looked surprised, then shook his head. Lady Clara, I focused on treating Miss Thornfield's immediate condition and have not yet examined potential causes. However, based on her pulse readings, her constitution has been consistently weak, and she appears to have endured considerable stress previously. This miscarriage likely resulted from multiple factors, not necessarily from consuming anything toxic. Lily, who had just regained consciousness, immediately protested upon hearing the physician's words. Doctor, how can you say that? I know I miscarried because of the poisoned soup Clara's maid brought me. That soup was definitely poisoned. You must examine it. The physician frowned and addressed Adrian. Young master, if you wish me to test for poison, I would need the bowl and any remaining soup for analysis. Adrian immediately turned to Lily. Lily, where is the remaining soup? Bring it for the doctor to examine. Lily's eyes flickered with panic as she stammered. I finished it all. There was nothing left. You consumed everything. I raised an eyebrow, my voice laden with mockery. Miss Thornfield, you just claimed the soup was poisoned and caused your immediate pain and bleeding. How then did you manage to finish every drop? Didn't you recognize the poison and cease drinking? Lily's face turned pale as her gaze darted frantically, rushing to explain. I didn't know it was poisoned when I drank it. I felt no immediate ill effects until after finishing it completely, then the pain began. How remarkably convenient, I said with a cold smile. Emma's bowl mysteriously disappeared, then reappeared with poisoned soup that caused your miscarriage. Yet you conveniently consumed all evidence. Miss Thornfield, do you truly believe such coincidences exist? Unable to respond to my logical challenges, Lily could only weep harder. Master Adrian, you must believe me. I haven't lied about anything. Clara did this because she envied my pregnancy. Adrian looked between Lily's tears and my composed demeanor, his expression conflicted with doubt, though anger quickly reasserted itself. Even without remaining soup, this bowl serves as evidence. Emma's bowl appeared in your quarters. How do you explain that if not through her delivery? The bowl belongs to Emma, but that doesn't prove Emma delivered anything, I replied calmly. Anyone in this household could have stolen Emma's bowl to frame me. Miss Thornfield, do you swear none of your servants ever took Emma's bowl? Lily's eyes contracted as she immediately protested. My servants are all honest. How could they steal from Emma? Emma must have brought it herself. Indeed, I focused on one of Lily's maids, a girl who had kept her head down throughout the confrontation, her eyes filled with obvious panic. I remembered her from Lily's previous visit to my chambers. She had accompanied her mistress then. What is your name? I asked with deceptive mildness. How long have you served Miss Thornfield? The maid trembled and immediately knelt. I am called Daisy. I have served Miss Thornfield for nearly 4 weeks. 4 weeks, I nodded. Then you must know Miss Thornfield's daily routine quite well. Before she consumed this soup today, did she meet with anyone? Did anyone else bring her anything? Daisy's eyes darted nervously as she stammered. No one. Miss Thornfield remained in her courtyard all day. Apart from we servants, she encountered no other persons and received no other deliveries. Is that so? I smiled coldly. Strange, because I heard that this afternoon, you secretly visited the kitchen and spoke with Cook Lee. Moreover, you carried an empty bowl when you went, but returned without it. Do you dare claim you didn't steal Emma's bowl, then have the kitchen fill it with soup for Miss Thornfield? Daisy's face instantly turned deathly white, her entire body shaking violently as she became unable to form coherent words. I Seeing this, Lily panicked and immediately screamed at her maid. Daisy, what nonsense are you babbling? Silence this instant. But Daisy, terrified by my interrogation, broke down completely and began weeping while kowtowing desperately. Lady Clara, Master Adrian, honored dowager, I confess my guilt. Miss Thornfield ordered me to do it. She told me to steal Emma's bowl, visit the kitchen for soup, and add certain substances to it. She said this would cause bleeding and pain, allowing her to blame you, my lady. What? Adrian and the dowager stared in shock at Lily. Lily's complexion turned ghostly as she vehemently denied everything. You are lying. You are slandering me. I never ordered you to do any such thing. You are trying to frame me with these fabrications. I am not lying, Daisy sobbed, continuing her confession. Miss Thornfield, you still have the powder in the bottom of your jewelry box. It is a small packet of red powder. You said just a tiny amount in soup would cause miscarriage without detection. I was terrified, but you threatened to sell me to a pleasure house if I refused. I had no choice but to obey. Adrian immediately rushed to Lily's jewelry box, tearing it open and searching frantically until he found exactly what Daisy described, a small packet of crimson powder hidden in the bottom compartment. With shaking hands, he held up the evidence, turning to face Lily with eyes full of betrayal and rage. Lily, what is this? Is Daisy telling the truth? Why would you do such a thing? Seeing the powder exposed, Lily realized her deception had collapsed completely. Abandoning all pretense, she shrieked with wild desperation. Yes, I ordered Daisy to do it. So what? Why would I do this? Because of you, Adrian Worthington. She pointed an accusing finger at him, her voice cracking with hysteria. I sacrificed everything to leave the pleasure house for you. Gave up so much, yet what did I receive? Though you brought me into your household, you refused to give me proper status because of Clara's family influence. Without drastic action, how could I make you completely despise Clara? How could I earn the dowager's deepest sympathy? How could I secure my position quickly? I thought bearing your child would guarantee your love and devotion, but Clara remained as arrogant as ever, treating me like dirt. I had no choice but to use this method, making you believe Clara had harmed me and our baby, turning you against her forever. My plan should have been perfect, but this worthless Daisy ruined everything by confessing under pressure. Adrian listened to her confession as though his soul had been drained from his body, staggering backward with disbelief and anguish written across his features. Lily, I never imagined you were capable of such evil. How could you use our own child as a pawn in your schemes? The dowager also trembled with fury, pointing at Lily while struggling to form words. You venomous creature, I was blind to trust you. You dared employ such wicked plots in my household, attempting to harm my daughter-in-law and great-grandchild. I shall never forgive this. Lily, seeing the condemnation in their eyes, knew her position was utterly destroyed. She turned her malevolent gaze toward me, her voice filled with pure hatred. Clara Ashworth, this is all your fault. Without you, I would never have been driven to such extremes. You've ruined my life. I'll curse you from beyond the grave. I regarded her with perfect composure, my voice steady and cold. Lily Thornfield, every step of your downfall resulted from your own choices. Your greed for what belonged to others. Your willingness to sacrifice even your own child for advancement. You alone bear responsibility for your fate. At that moment, footsteps approached from outside. The Duke had returned, and hearing of the western courtyard's commotion, entered with a face like thunderclouds. The Dowager and Adrian quickly explained the entire situation to him. After hearing their account, the Duke's expression turned murderous as he pointed at Lily. You poisonous wretch! How dare you create chaos in my household and threaten the succession? Your crimes deserve death. He commanded his guards immediately, "Remove this viper, lock her in the woodshed tonight, then deliver her to the magistrate tomorrow for proper justice." The guards promptly seized Lily and began dragging her away. As she was removed, Lily continued screaming, "Adrian, save me! You cannot treat me this way. Have you forgotten our love, Dowager? I admit my mistakes. Please grant me one more chance." Adrian watched her departure with complex emotions, pain, disappointment, but ultimately, no plea for mercy. The Dowager also turned away, refusing to acknowledge her further. After Lily's removal, silence settled over the western courtyard like a heavy blanket. From that day forward, Oliver and I enjoyed only brightness and clear paths ahead, no longer troubled by worthless people and their sordid schemes. Our future stretched before us, unburdened and free, filled with the promise of honor and happiness that rightfully belonged to the Ashworth family. The Duke of Worthington's household had been cleansed of its poison, and we could finally breathe easily once again. In the end, truth had prevailed, justice had been served, and those who sought to harm the innocent had faced the consequences of their own making. As I held Oliver close that night, watching the stars appear through our window, I knew we had weathered the storm and emerged stronger than before.